Introduction. In episode 2265 of the Joe Rogan Experience, comedian and writer Kurt Metzger joins Joe for a wide-ranging conversation that dives deep into the world of comedy, culture, and controversial topics. Kurt Metzger is a seasoned comic, known for his brutally honest takes and sharp wit. He's made a name for himself in the stand-up comedy scene and through his writing work, including his contributions to shows like Inside Amy Schumer and his own podcast, Can't Get Right, with Kurt Metzger. With a reputation for tackling dark and taboo subjects with humor, Metzger's unique voice adds a raw and real perspective to the conversation. Detailed summary. The episode opens with Kurt diving into his thoughts on cancel culture and its impact on comedy. He and Joe discuss how comedy has changed in recent years, particularly in terms of what's considered acceptable to joke about in the public eye. Kurt gives insight into how comics are navigating the pressures of modern-day sensitivity, pointing out that what was once a free and open space for jokes is now filled with more boundaries. This leads to a larger conversation about freedom of speech, humor as a form of self-expression, and the dangers of self-censorship. The topic shifts to the complexities of online culture, where Kurt and Joe explore how social media has changed public discourse. They talk about the overwhelming negativity and outrage that runs rampant online, and how it's often used as a tool to manipulate narratives and gain attention. Kurt shares his views on the idea of virality, and how the constant need to go viral has created a race for controversial statements, sensationalism, and clickbait. As the conversation moves forward, Kurt gets personal and shares some of his experiences in the world of stand-up comedy. He talks about how he has evolved as a comic and how his perspective on the world has influenced his material. Kurt reflects on the importance of staying true to oneself, even when it's at odds with popular opinion. He discusses the creative process and how it's essential to trust your instincts and avoid trying to please everyone. One of the standout moments of the episode comes when the discussion turns to the broader societal implications of comedy. Kurt argues that comedy, at its best, acts as a mirror to society, showing us the flaws and absurdities in a way that is palatable. However, as comedy becomes more scrutinized, the risk of losing its edge becomes more prominent. Joe and Kurt share their frustrations over the current climate, where comedians are becoming afraid to push boundaries for fear of backlash. Kurt passionately explains that comedy has always been about pushing limits, and if that is taken away, it loses its meaning. Throughout the episode, Joe and Kurt also touch on the intersection of politics and comedy. With tensions running high across the political spectrum, they discuss how comedians are often expected to comment on political issues, even when it might not be their wheelhouse. Kurt's take on political correctness and the current state of the comedy industry sparks a compelling conversation on the relationship between humor and politics and how comedians play a role in shaping the narrative, even if they don't want to. The episode concludes with a lighter conversation about Kurt's thoughts on the entertainment industry, his own personal projects, and the future of comedy. He touches on how much he's grown as a performer and creator, and how, despite all the challenges the industry faces, comedy still remains one of the most powerful tools for change and self-reflection. Recap and analysis. This episode of the Joe Rogan Experience offers a thought-provoking and candid look at the state of comedy in today's world. The discussions on cancel culture, freedom of speech, and the impact of social media provide important insights into the evolving landscape of comedy and its role in society. Fans of Kurt Metzger, Joe Rogan, and those interested in the intersection of humor and cultural change will find this episode particularly compelling. The conversation's depth and humor make it not just entertaining, but highly relevant to today's societal issues. The episode serves as a reminder of the power of comedy to challenge norms and spark important conversations. While the environment for comedy may feel restrictive at times, it's clear from Kurt's perspective that the need for raw, unfiltered humor is greater than ever. Call to action. If you enjoyed this deep dive into comedy, cancel culture, and the challenges facing today's comedians, make sure to check out the full episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with Kurt Metzger. You'll get even more insight into his journey as a comic, as well as his thoughts on the changing entertainment landscape. Don't forget to share the episode with friends who might appreciate the candid and insightful discussion.